Have you ever noticed how each year seems to pass faster than the last? When we were children, summers felt endless, but now months disappear in the blink of an eye. Is time actually speeding up, or is something else at play? The answer lies in the fascinating philosophy of Bergson, who believed that time is not just a mechanical ticking clock, but a deeply personal experience. In this video, we'll explore why time feels shorter as we age, and what we can do to slow it down. Stay with me until the last chapter, where I'll reveal a powerful way to make life feel longer again. Time is something we all experience daily, but have you ever wondered why it feels so different at various stages of life? If you think about your childhood, you may remember feeling like summers lasted forever, and each day seemed to stretch on endlessly. But now, as an adult, time seems to slip through your fingers at a much faster rate. It feels like we're constantly playing catch-up, and before we know it, another year has passed. The question is, why does time feel like it's speeding up as we age? Bergson, a brilliant French philosopher, has a unique perspective on this, offering insights that help explain this mysterious phenomenon. According to Bergson, time can't be understood solely through the ticking of a clock or the minutes on a calendar. In fact, he believes that the true nature of time is much more fluid and subjective than we typically acknowledge. Bergson made a clear distinction between two types of time: mechanical time, which we measure with clocks and calendars, and lived time, or what he calls duration. Mechanical time is uniform and abstract. It's the kind of time we use to schedule our appointments, check the clock, and calculate how much longer we have before an event ends. This form of time is detached from our personal experience. It's a fixed, predictable sequence. Lived time, on the other hand, is entirely different. It's the time we experience internally, the time we feel as we move through our lives. Bergson argued that this duration is subjective and deeply connected to the way we live our lives. It's elastic, personal, and changes depending on how we experience the moments that make up our days. This is where the mystery of time speeding up as we age begins to unfold. When we are young, our lives are filled with new experiences, challenges, and discoveries. Everything is fresh, and our brains are actively processing and storing new information. These novel experiences stretch our perception of time. Think about it. The first time you did something like riding a bike or visiting a new place, time felt expansive because you were fully immersed in the experience. It's when time feels rich and stretched, because your brain is recording new memories and absorbing every detail. The more intense or new an experience, the more it seems to expand time in our memory. Every summer as a child feels like it lasts a whole lifetime, because each day was filled with fresh sensations, activities, and adventures. However, as we grow older, something shifts. The newness starts to fade, we fall into routine, and we start repeating the same actions over and over. This is when mechanical time starts to dominate. The novelty of life begins to wane, and we begin to live in a pattern of repetition. As we move through predictable days, weeks, and years, our brains stop processing each moment with the same intensity. We begin to zone out and simply go through the motions. In other words, time starts to compress, because we're no longer deeply engaged in each moment, and our perception of time speeds up. A year filled with the same repetitive actions seems shorter than a year filled with new experiences, because, in the case of the former, there are fewer memories being formed to stretch our perception of time. This is why, as adults, we often feel like the years are flying by. The older we get, the more routine and predictable our lives can become, making time appear to pass more quickly. Our minds are less engaged in the present moment, and as a result, we experience fewer lasting memories of the time that's passing. It's like flipping through a photo album where every picture feels the same. Our experience of duration shrinks because we stop living life with the intensity and novelty that comes with youth. The phenomenon of time speeding up with age isn't just a casual observation. It's a deeply rooted psychological effect that Bergson explains with his theory of duration. He suggests that our sense of time is less about objective measures and more about the richness of the experiences we go through. Time doesn't move faster as we get older. What actually happens is that we stop engaging with the present in a way that expands our perception of it. Understanding this difference between mechanical time and lived time gives us an important insight into why we feel like life is slipping away from us. But it also offers hope. If we can learn to experience life more deeply and find newness in our routines, we can make time feel fuller, richer, and ultimately longer. As we continue through life, the sense that time is speeding up becomes more pronounced. But why does this happen? What is it about growing older that shifts our perception so dramatically? Bergson provides a key insight here, suggesting that the psychological experience of time changes as we accumulate more memories. This accumulation of experiences, while enriching in many ways, changes the way our brains perceive time itself. One key factor that contributes to the feeling of time speeding up is the diminishing novelty in our experiences as we age. Novelty is the spark that lights up our brains. When something new happens, our minds engage deeply with it, recording more details and stretching our perception of time. When we are young, everything is new, and every experience feels like a discovery. This constant influx of newness is what makes our childhood years feel so long and full. But as we get older, we experience fewer completely novel moments. Most of our daily actions become familiar and routine, which causes our brains to process them more efficiently, without needing to dwell on every detail. In a way, our experience of time slows down when we encounter something new, and it speeds up when we fall into routine. Think about how a vacation or a new experience can feel like it lasts forever. That's because it's packed with new details, new environments, and new challenges. But when we go to work every day, run errands, or follow the same patterns we've followed for years, those days blur together. The less new information our brains need to process, the faster time seems to go by. The repetition dulls our perception, and time collapses into a series of monotonous moments that seem to vanish before we can fully appreciate them. But why does it seem to accelerate with age in particular? One possible explanation lies in how our memory functions. When we're younger, we have a tendency to create distinct, memorable moments. These memories stack up, making our experience of time feel expansive. However, as we age, the number of new and distinct experiences we have naturally decreases. As a result, our memory banks fill with fewer new moments, and we start to rely more heavily on the familiar. This causes time to feel shorter, because there's less new material to slow down our perception. Each year seems to blur into the next, and before we know it, decades have passed. This all points to the idea that time, as we understand it, is a deeply subjective experience. While clocks continue to tick at a constant rate, our personal experience of time is far from consistent. As Bergson put it, the real measure of time lies in our lived experience, the emotions, the memories, and the sense of engagement we feel with the present. When we stop living life with the intensity and novelty of our youth, we lose the feeling of time stretching out before us. But that doesn't mean we're powerless to change it. Understanding this idea gives us a way to reclaim our sense of time, to slow it down, and make life feel fuller and longer once again. The modern world, with all its conveniences and technological advancements, has radically altered the way we experience time. You may not realize it, but the way we live today is a far cry from the slow-paced existence our ancestors once led. With technology evolving at an exponential rate and a constant stream of information and distractions at our fingertips, time feels compressed. And it's not just a passing feeling, there's science to back it up. In this fast-paced world, we've become conditioned to expect immediate results, rapid stimulation, and constant engagement. But the problem is, this constant bombardment of stimuli is not only speeding up our perception of time, it's also eroding the quality of our experiences. First, consider the role of technology in our perception of time. A few decades ago, When we wanted to access information, it took time. Time to go to the library, time to search through books, and time to find the answers we were seeking. Today, all it takes is a few taps on a smartphone screen, and the information is right there in front of us. While this seems like a convenient benefit of modern technology, it's actually contributing to a profound shift in our relationship with time. We are now accustomed to having everything instantly, and that has made us impatient. We've lost the ability to savor moments and enjoy the gradual unfolding of an experience because we expect everything to happen at lightning speed. The speed of modern life, fueled by the constant flow of information, creates the illusion that time is moving faster, when in reality, it's simply that we are conditioned to process everything at a faster pace. The rise of social media is another culprit. Social media platforms are designed to be highly engaging and addictive, drawing us into an endless cycle of scrolling, liking, and sharing. These platforms feed us a constant stream of updates, notifications, and content that demand our attention. The need to stay in the loop creates a sense of urgency and pressure, making us feel like we're constantly running out of time. It's no longer enough to simply live our lives. We now feel compelled to document and share every moment of it, often in real time. This makes our attention constantly divided, preventing us from fully immersing ourselves in any single experience. Instead of savoring a conversation with a friend or taking in the sights of a beautiful landscape, we're checking our phones to see who's liking our photos, how many new messages we've received, and whether there's a trending topic we should be aware of. This distraction, this inability to stay present, is accelerating our sense of time slipping away. One of the most troubling aspects of living in the modern world is how stress and multitasking have become so normalized. In our quest to be more productive and efficient, we've convinced ourselves that multitasking is the key to success. But research has shown that multitasking actually reduces our effectiveness and makes us feel more stressed. It divides our attention, leaving us mentally fatigued and overwhelmed. When we juggle multiple tasks, we're not fully engaging with any one of them, and as a result, the moments spent on each task seem shorter, less meaningful, and less fulfilling. We rush through our daily to-do lists, trying to squeeze in as much as possible into a single day, and by the time we've finished, we feel like we've barely experienced anything at all. The constant urge to check emails, answer texts, or respond to social media messages means we're never truly off from our responsibilities and commitments. Even when we're supposed to be relaxing, we're often thinking about what's next on our agenda or wondering if there's something we've missed. This scattered attention, this constant feeling of being on, only speeds up the sense that time is flying by. The more we multitask and manage multiple streams of information at once, the less we actually experience each moment, and the faster time seems to move. Another factor contributing to our accelerated sense of time is entertainment. In the past, when we wanted to enjoy a movie, listen to music, or engage in some form of entertainment, it required a more intentional effort. We had to sit down, focus, and allow ourselves to be fully immersed in the experience. Today, entertainment is a click away, available 24/7, and constantly updated. We've become so accustomed to on-demand content that it's hard to remember what it was like to wait for something, whether it was a favorite TV show or the latest album release. This constant availability of entertainment creates a sense of urgency, as though there's always something to watch, listen to, or engage with. But instead of enhancing our lives, this overabundance of choice has made it harder for us to focus on any one thing. We flick from show to show, song to song, post to post, never truly engaging deeply with any one piece of content. This hyperstimulation creates a sensation of time speeding up, because we're constantly bombarded by new information, and our brains are processing it at a rapid pace. This continuous flow of entertainment, while enjoyable at times, only feeds into the feeling that life is rushing by, leaving us with little time to reflect or enjoy the present. One of the most powerful ways modern society accelerates our sense of time is through consumerism. Everywhere we look, there's something calling for our attention. sales, advertisements, and promotions promising to improve our lives or provide instant gratification. We're conditioned to consume more, whether it's products, experiences, or even digital content. The constant pressure to keep up with trends, buy the latest gadgets, or travel to the most popular destinations creates a sense of urgency. We feel as though we have to do more, buy more, see more, and experience more in order to keep pace with everyone else. This feeling of perpetual dissatisfaction with what we have and the constant desire for more makes time seem even shorter because we're never fully content. We're always looking ahead to the next thing, chasing the next purchase or experience instead of being present with what we have in the moment. All of these factors, technology, social media, multitasking, entertainment, and consumerism, are converging to create a world where time feels more compressed than ever. The illusion that time is speeding up is not necessarily a trick of the mind, but a result of the external pressures and constant distractions we face. In this environment, we are constantly in motion, always rushing from one thing to the next, without ever fully experiencing any one moment. The more we allow ourselves to be consumed by this fast-paced world, the more we lose sight of the present and the feeling of time stretching before us. However, it's important to realize that we're not entirely powerless in the face of this overwhelming flood of stimuli. We do have the ability to slow down and reclaim our time. But in order to do so, we need to become more intentional in the way we engage with the world. We need to create space for deep, focused attention, whether it's through mindfulness, taking time to reflect, or deliberately seeking out new experiences. By finding moments of stillness in a world that's constantly moving, we can begin to break free from the pressure to rush and regain a sense of the richness of life that slows time down. It's not the external world that dictates how we experience time. It's our internal engagement with it. The faster the world moves, the more essential it becomes for us to take deliberate steps to slow down and reclaim our sense of duration, as Bergson calls it. Only then can we truly experience time as it was meant to be lived, rich, expansive, and full. Bergson's philosophy offers more than just an explanation of why time feels faster as we age. It also provides us with a powerful antidote to the feeling of time slipping away. While the modern world encourages a hurried, fragmented experience of life, Bergson suggests that the key to slowing down time lies in reconnecting with a more profound, authentic experience of the present. According to Bergson, the way we perceive time is deeply tied to our ability to experience the world with depth, focus, and engagement. The more we can immerse ourselves in the duration of our experiences, what Bergson calls the subjective, lived quality of time, the more we can stretch our perception of time and make our lives feel fuller. One of the most striking aspects of Bergson's philosophy is his emphasis on pure experience. To Bergson, pure experience is the unmediated, immediate experience of being alive in the world, before our minds impose labels, categories, or judgments on it. It's the raw, unfiltered perception of the world, free from distraction or mental preoccupation. When we are fully engaged in the present moment, without the interference of multitasking, distraction, or external pressures, we tap into the richness of life itself. This is where time begins to slow down, because we are not rushing from one thing to the next, but are instead deeply immersed in the experience we are having right now. In many ways, pure experience is about reawakening the sense of wonder and awe that we had as children, when every new experience was fresh and exciting. As adults, we often lose this sense of wonder because we become caught up in the routine and the mundane. But Bergson argues that we can cultivate a deeper, more engaging experience of life by simply being more present, more aware, and more connected to the world around us. Whether it's taking a walk in nature, savoring a meal, or engaging in a creative endeavor, we can recapture that sense of being fully alive in the moment. In doing so, we can stretch our perception of time, creating more meaningful memories and experiences that slow down the rush of daily life. But how exactly do we cultivate pure experience? The answer lies in mindfulness and deep immersion in the present. Mindfulness is the practice of paying full attention to the present moment, without judgment or distraction. It's about observing our thoughts, feelings, and sensations without becoming lost in them or allowing them to pull us away from the here and now. When we practice mindfulness, we become more attuned to the richness of our experiences. Whether it's the sound of birds chirping, the feeling of the sun on our skin, or the taste of a delicious meal, we begin to appreciate the details of life that we might otherwise overlook. This attention to the present moment deepens our experience and makes time feel more expansive. Bergson also suggests that we need to engage in activities that help us transcend the routine and the predictable. These activities are those that force us to step outside of our comfort zone, to experience something new and different. When we engage in novel activities, our brains are forced to work harder to process the new information, which results in a richer, fuller experience of time. This doesn't necessarily mean that we need to take drastic measures to change our lives, but rather that we can bring novelty into our daily routines. For example, trying a new hobby, traveling to a new place, or simply approaching a familiar task in a new way can all help to create a sense of time expansion. The more we engage in activities that challenge us and push us outside of our usual patterns, the more we enrich our experience of life and slow down the passing of time. Bergson also points to the importance of creativity in our ability to slow down time. Creativity, in any form, is an expression of pure experience. Whether it's painting, writing, dancing, or playing music, creative activities allow us to engage with the world in a way that is deeply personal and immersive. When we create, we become fully absorbed in the process, often losing track of time entirely. This is because creativity requires a deep level of concentration, presence, and emotional involvement. It forces us to step out of our everyday concerns and into a state of flow, where time seems to slow down as we become fully absorbed in what we're doing. By engaging in creative pursuits, we can reclaim a sense of time that is rich, expansive, and deeply meaningful. Another key aspect of Bergson's theory of duration is the importance of spontaneity and play. When we allow ourselves to be spontaneous and playful, we break free from the rigidity of routine and the demands of the modern world. Spontaneity involves embracing the present moment without overthinking or planning ahead. It's about allowing ourselves to be surprised by life and to respond to it with openness and curiosity. Play, similarly, is an act of freedom and creativity that connects us to the present moment in a deeply joyful way. By embracing spontaneity and play, we can inject a sense of novelty and excitement into our lives, which in turn stretches our experience of time. One powerful way to cultivate the feeling of time slowing down is to create space in our lives for stillness and reflection. In a world that is constantly demanding our attention, we often find ourselves rushing from one task to the next without ever taking a moment to pause and reflect. This constant motion can make time feel like it's slipping away because we are never fully present with ourselves or our experiences. Taking time for stillness allows us to reconnect with our inner selves and reflect on the passage of time in a more intentional way. Whether it's through meditation, journaling, or simply sitting in silence, these moments of reflection give us the opportunity to slow down and appreciate the richness of the present moment. Bergson's ideas also encourage us to embrace slowness as a conscious choice. In a world that values speed and efficiency, the idea of slowing down can seem counterintuitive. However, Bergson suggests that by choosing to slow down, whether it's by walking instead of rushing, eating mindfully instead of hurrying through a meal, or taking the time to savor a conversation, we can begin to stretch our experience of time. Slowing down allows us to be more present with each moment, which in turn helps us to fully engage with the richness of life. By making slowness a deliberate practice, we can counteract the feeling of time slipping away and instead create a sense of time that feels expansive and meaningful. Finally, it's important to recognize that the feeling of time slowing down is not about changing the objective passage of time itself. It's about changing our relationship to it. By reconnecting with the duration of our experiences, by immersing ourselves in the present moment, and by cultivating a sense of wonder, creativity, and mindfulness, we can transform the way we experience time. Instead of feeling like time is slipping through our fingers, we can begin to feel like time is a rich, expansive force that we can tap into at any moment. Bergson's philosophy shows us that we have the power to shape our perception of time, and in doing so, we can make our lives feel fuller, richer, and more meaningful. By embracing pure experience and duration, we can reclaim our time and slow down the rush of modern life, allowing us to live more fully in the moment. To truly understand Bergson's concept of time and how it can be applied to our own lives, it's essential to realize that duration is not simply about feeling like time is passing faster or slower. It's about how we engage with time itself, our awareness of it, and how we allow it to shape our lives. By altering our relationship to time, we can transform our experience of it. But this transformation requires a conscious effort to break free from the modern world's relentless pace and embrace a more organic, fluid experience of time, an experience that's deeply connected to our inner selves rather than external demands. One key aspect of Bergson's theory is the idea of freedom. The more we connect to the inner flow of time, the duration that exists within us, not dictated by the ticking of the clock, the more we can access a profound sense of freedom. We are no longer slaves to the constant pressures of modern life, the deadlines, the expectations, and the productivity metrics that rule our lives. Instead, we begin to live in accordance with a deeper sense of self and rhythm, one that is more attuned to the natural flow of life. In our everyday existence, we are often stuck in the rhythm of external time, the clock, the schedule, the calendar, timing our activities to fit into predefined slots. This external time is mechanical, rigid, and impersonal. It has no regard for the actual quality of our experiences, only their quantity. But when we tap into Bergson's concept of duration, we shift from this external rhythm to a more organic one, where time is not something we are filling, but something we are living. Duration is the interior quality of time, the subjective experience of time's unfolding, and it's what allows us to feel that our lives are meaningful and rich, rather than fragmented and rushed. By experiencing life from the perspective of duration, we allow time to unfold in its own natural course, without forcing it into artificially imposed boundaries. This allows us to immerse ourselves in each experience fully, without the need to rush or hurry through it. We are no longer simply checking off tasks on a to-do list. Instead, we are being with each moment. This is the kind of freedom that comes when we stop letting external forces dictate our experience of time. We can start to feel that we are truly living in the moment, not just passing through it, and time begins to feel expansive and full. This transformation in how we experience time is not just about slowing down. It's about a shift in perspective, a realization that time is not an enemy to be beaten, but a companion to be cherished. Instead of feeling that time is slipping away from us, we can begin to embrace it as a continuous flow that is connected to our inner state, and the richness of that flow is determined by our attention, our engagement, and our willingness to experience life with depth. Embracing duration also means embracing the fluidity of time. Time is not fixed or static, but is rather an ever-changing, ever-unfolding force. When we allow ourselves to experience time in this fluid way, we begin to notice that our perception of time is not always linear. Rather, time can expand and contract based on our experiences. Think about those moments in life when time seems to stretch endlessly, moments of deep joy, creativity, or connection. These moments seem to last forever, even though they may only last a few hours. On the other hand, when we are bored, tired, or stressed, time seems to drag on, even though the actual passing of time hasn't changed. This is the nature of duration. Time is experienced in a way that is influenced by the richness of our experience, not the clock's ticking. In a way, we can start to perceive time the same way we experience memory. Memory doesn't operate on a linear scale. It doesn't line up neatly in a timeline. Instead, memories are fluid and layered, shaped by the emotional intensity of the experience. When we recall a memory, we don't always remember it in the exact order that it happened. The past is not something fixed that we can view from a distance, but something that still lives within us. It's this kind of timeless experience, one that resists linearity and embraces emotional depth, that Bergson is talking about when he discusses duration. When we experience time in this way, we're not constrained by the mechanical clock. Instead, we're engaged in an ongoing flow of experiences that resonate deeply with our consciousness. To live in accordance with Bergson's idea of duration is to embrace the present moment fully, to be aware of it as it unfolds, and to realize that the richness of life is always available to us in the here and now. We don't need to rush to the future or cling to the past in order to find meaning. When we stop measuring time in terms of productivity and efficiency and start measuring it in terms of experience and presence, time begins to slow down. We become fully immersed in the present moment, free from the need to control or manipulate time. The more we embrace this freedom, the more we are able to experience time as it was meant to be lived, alive, fluid, and expansive. There are many practical ways we can incorporate Bergson's philosophy into our daily lives. One of the most powerful tools is mindful living, a practice that allows us to reconnect with the flow of time and experience life in its fullness. Mindfulness involves paying attention to the present moment without judgment, without trying to control it or manipulate it. It's about noticing the details, the textures, sounds, smells, and sensations that make up our experience. By practicing mindfulness, we allow ourselves to be fully present with what is happening right now, without the distractions of the past or the future. This immersion in the present moment helps to slow down our perception of time, making it feel less rushed and more expansive. Another important practice is slow living, a conscious decision to simplify our lives and prioritize what truly matters. Slow living is about intentionally creating space in our lives for relaxation, contemplation, and creativity. Instead of rushing through the day, we slow down and savor each moment. This doesn't mean we have to give up our ambitions or goals, but it does mean we make room for a deeper, more meaningful experience of time. We focus on quality over quantity, choosing to be present with our loved ones, engage in creative pursuits, or spend time in nature rather than racing through our to-do lists or chasing after constant stimulation. Bergson's philosophy also calls for a reconnection with nature, a place where time is not measured by a clock, but flows naturally in cycles. Spending time in nature can help us attune to the rhythms of the world around us and reconnect with the sense of wonder and awe that is so often lost in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. Whether it's taking a walk through the woods, sitting by the ocean, or simply observing the changing seasons, nature reminds us that time is not something we need to control or manipulate. It's something we can flow with, allowing us to experience its beauty and richness without rushing. Ultimately, by embracing Bergson's concept of duration and allowing ourselves to slow down and become more present, we can begin to reclaim time from the grip of modern life's distractions. We can start to live in harmony with time, experiencing it not as a burden, but as a gift. Time, when fully experienced, is not something that slips away. It is something that unfolds with richness, depth, and meaning. By cultivating a deeper connection to time, we can truly slow it down and experience life in its fullest, most expansive form.